Hello, everyone, and welcome to Office Hours. I'm Jeff Blankenberg, and with me is Amanda Lang. Amanda, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you.
Certainly. So, Amanda and I have a few announcements for you that we'd like to start Office Hours with. And so I'm going to get started on that. First, tomorrow, I'm hosting a tech talk with Pranav Rai. He's going to be talking all about Skill Quality Coach. If you guys have a skill and you haven't found that in your analytics dashboard yet, go take a look. But be sure to turn in tomorrow on whatever your preferred social channel is, whether that's Twitch or YouTube or even Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We'll be broadcasting on all of them. There's a link in the chat, so make sure you tune in to that event because I think it's going to be a good one. Also, keeping with our Skill Quality Coach insights, I've already spoken about add relevant keywords, and last week we discussed updating your skills metadata. This week's insight for the Skill Quality Coach is about being adaptable and supporting the repeat command. Now, the Amazon.repeat intent lets the user request previous actions, right? So if you think about saying repeat to a skill, you want to be able to have the skill say back to you what you heard the last time. Sometimes you missed it or you walked out of the room or whatever it is. I actually have a really fast demo that I would love to show you of how I do this in my own skills. So I'm going to do present, share screen, and we're going to do this just like magical. Okay. So I think we can see my screen. Is that right, Amanda?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So in my response log, this is the function that you can use inside your skill. This is part of the Alexa SDK. And inside the response log, this is the last function that gets called before your response gets sent back to the user. And what I do in here is I just have a function called put repeat data. Now, I'll explain what that does in a second. But the idea is I like to do this as absolutely late as possible so that everywhere else in my skill has a chance to assemble and put together my entire response before I send it back to the user. That helper function, all it really does is it rips the speak and close speak tags off of the content that's inside what we call our output speech and our SSML for output speech and the reprompt. So I rip those speak tags off, and then I shove them into some session attributes that I call previous speak and previous reprompt. Now I've stored those values as session variables, and they will travel from session to session with me. So every time that a user says something, I just replace it with what I just said. So if they say repeat that, then I can do that. And then finally, I have my actual repeat handler. And in here, all I do is I look at my session attributes, and I take those values, the speak output, and I take previous speak and previous reprompt, the values that I said last time, and I just say them again. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to store it in the database. I just shove it in my session variables, and we are off and running. So you can find all of this code. Actually, let me stop sharing my screen now. And you can find all of this code in a much bigger project that I'm working on called Voice Developer. And I'll drop a comment in the chat like so. So if you want to see that repository, if you want to dig through and find exactly how I did that, you can take a look there.
Awesome. That's really cool tip. Thanks for sharing that, Jeff. I want to mention, by the way, that we're also getting ready to plan our March Tech Talk. In March, we're going to have Helen Hasman, who is a product marketing manager on our team. And she's going to be speaking with Maitreyi Chaube from the Alexa to Skills developer team about improvements that have been made to that developer console. So mark that in your calendars now. It's Wednesday, March 22nd at 10 a.m. And I'm saying that I'm really enjoying the new developer console experience. It's got some nice features and upgrades. So we're just going to go over those with everybody in March. It's going to be a good talk.
Cool. And speaking of Helen, and for our new skill builders, I'm excited to let you know that we're about to launch a 4-part video series highlighting everything you need to know about being able to build and publish your own skill. I actually worked with Helen on this, and she was a really great resource for understanding all of the different pieces and parts that we wanted to put together for a video series like this. So you'll get to see my smiling face in there, walking you through getting started with your first skill. And again, all of our social channels will be available, so you'll be able to watch it on Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever you're looking.
Yeah, I checked those videos out too. Those are great. Next week on Office Hours, also, we're going to have Karthik Raghuvathy and Kai Lurch with us from the Alexa presentation language team. And they have some updates that they want to let you know about with APL. So we're looking forward to having them back on the show.
All right. Well, we're talking about today's show, though, Amanda, so we should probably get to our guest. Kunal is joining us. Kunal, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Jeff, for having me on the
certainly. I'm glad you could be here. So I'd love for you to kind of introduce yourself and your role and let people know kind of what you do here day to day.
Yep. I'm Kunal Shanishchara. I am a senior solutions architect on the Ask Runtime team. So Ask stands for Alexa Skills Kit, and that's the skills kit that you use to develop the skills. And runtime is you use a lot of the developer tools like the Dev Console, etc. But when the skill is actually executing on the Alexa platform, the runtime platform is the one that is facilitating that whole execution of the skill with the requests, the response, the activation of the skills, account linking, etc.
Got it.
Yep.
So it's almost like an entire operating system managing and handling all of those things, right?
Exactly.
Great. That's cool. Well, the thing we're here to have you talk about today is skills A/B testing. This is something that developers have asked for a long time and has been out for a little while. But I think it's important to remind people just of some of the really powerful tools that we have available for them. So the first question I have to ask, in case people didn't know what I was talking about, is what is skills A/B testing?
Yep. Thanks. So skills A/B testing, as you mentioned, has been around. We launched it last year, about a year ago. And this is an experimentation tool that we offer to our developers, the skill developers, to be able to test between different versions of the skill. This enables these developers to kind of test different behaviors. And the biggest benefit I see out of skills A/B testing is you can test it against the live custom on your live skill and with real customers. So it's A/B testing as in general. That's the industry standard for a lot of the live testing. We provide tools through the developer console via the CLI and SMAPI APIs to set up these A/B tests on your live skills. We have some requirements there in terms of which skills can be tested or you can set up these experiments with. To make it statistically meaningful, the skills need to have certain monthly active users, as well as it needs to be live, and it uh, that's those are the two key.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I want to make sure that I understand that. So the one was that you have to have a minimum number of users in order to be able to use A/B testing. And then the other part that I heard was that you can only do this on a skill that has been published and is live.
that's right.
Got it.
And it has to be a custom skill type.
Custom skill. That makes sense.
Okay.
So the question that leads out of that for me is, if I have a skill that's in, like, I'm developing it and I'm starting to roll out a beta test and I have a couple hundred users that I want to use in a beta test, I wouldn't be able to use A/B testing in that case, right?
That's right.
Okay. I think that would be a really good application of that, but I understand that we have rules, so that makes sense to me.
Yep. So from within our tools, we are able to set up the control as well as the treatment sets. A/B testing, as you know, in general, allows you to test against a control environment, which is you could specify a percentage of traffic of the skill that can be subjected to the experiment, where if you say 40% of the traffic, which means we would have 20% of the customers from that 20% go see the same behavior that is currently in the version of your skill, and you have the treatment is the version that you want to test against. And obviously you're setting up different metrics that you want to measure, etc. That helps developers kind of determine whether the change that they're looking to make is going to be impactful or not.
Got it.
Very cool.
Well, is there I want to make sure we make this important distinction, because when developers think about building a skill, there's two things they think about. There's their interaction model, right, which is all of the intents and slots and utterances and all of that. And then there's the backend service that they have running, whether that's on Lambda or someplace else. When we talk about A/B testing, which one are we talking about?
So currently the A/B testing offering that we have only allows them to test the backend changes.
Okay.
The interaction model, that's something that we are looking to offer in future, but currently we don't have that as an
okay. So this is a matter of spreading traffic of certain percentages across two different backend services.
That's right.
Okay, great.
Can you give an example of what that would look like and what the benefit would be to doing that kind of test?
Yeah, so now there are a few use cases that we would, I mean, from a benefit standpoint, for the skill developers, there is you're testing against real users, as I mentioned, one of the biggest benefit. You can continue to use any of your existing test tools or testing frameworks that you may have, because we offer the CLI as well as the API based offering for it. The third one I would say is you can iterate rapidly over the skill changes. So you could measure it for 7 days, you run an A/B test for 7 days, 14 days, whatever your time period you may want it to be, and rapidly iterate over it. And then the fourth one is it helps you make data driven decisions, and whether this particular version of skill that or the backend change that you made is having impact on the key metrics that you want to measure. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. But um, once, as a developer, that's what you're looking for. But from a customer standpoint, there are benefits to them as well. It's not that the entire customer base or your user base is going to see this experimental version. They're only a limited number of users will see it. You can put guardrails around it. If you are seeing degradation in some of the metrics, you could stop the A/B test right away. So it gives you that control um, and the ability to experiment fast.
Really cool.
Cool. All right, so we've talked about experimentation and the fact that we can swap out backends based on a percentage of users. But how do developers know that one is working better than the other? Is there a way to like evaluate the effectiveness of our A/B tests?
Yes, for sure. So uh, on the developer console in the analytics tab, we offer, once you set up the A/B tests, and at this point, I would like to maybe share the link for the video that we did, a tech talk that was done about a year ago by a
Yeah, I
couple of
think
our
that was
colleagues.
just shared in the chat just now. So, yep, we
Okay.
got that tech talk up on the
So
chat. Yep.
that tech talk walks you through that whole experience and the analytics tab, where the users can go and check the key metrics like the p-value or the probability of the mean between the control, um, the users that are subjected to the control version of it as well as the treatment version, so that you can determine whether any of the metrics that you are looking to move, whether it may be engagement, whether it is customer uh, next day usage or day retention of the customer. If your skill is an has in skill purchasing available, you could even measure on those metrics whether the in skill purchases are going up, are there more acceptance on the treatment version with or not. Once you have determined that, and you run these experiments for a fixed amount of time, and you see these metrics have a positive impact or a negative one, and then you can dial up the treatment version if you feel like this is working out better, or the customer experience is much better.
Got it.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, there's definitely a clamoring for being able to test the interaction model here in the chat. So just I know you said you guys are thinking about how that's going to happen, but it seems that is something that is very interesting to our audience. So good
Okay,
feedback for you.
thanks.
Could you?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Could you share some of the use cases developers have used the A/B testing for?
Yep. So a few of our developers have utilized it. I mean, uh, the A/B testing for, as I mentioned, the in-skill purchasing. That's one of the major use cases where our key metrics that we offer from the A/B testing tools is to measure in-skill purchasing and the metrics associated with it. The other metrics that we say are available is customer retention, or the next day customer uh, usage, or the engagement itself. Is it driving up engagement? Those metrics are the ones that developers can set up as part of their A/B tests.
Cool.
Got
And I think the link that we shared and also the documentation that we have, the tech docs, does talk about every single of those metrics that we offer as part of A/B testing.
Great.
Yep.
Oh, really good.
All right. So I have another big challenging set of questions for you about account linking. But before we get there, I thought I'd take a quick skim through the chat and just see if there's any other questions related to what we talked about at the beginning or A/B testing before we dive into account linking. But for those of you that are watching, we're going to talk about account linking here with Kunal as well. And I'm really looking forward to that because I think that there's a lot of questions all of you may have. This also probably would help if I turned our names on. But I think you guys have a bunch of questions for him about account linking as well. So let's jump into the comments here and just see what we've got going on. A lot of great people here. I'm not going to name all the names, but the regulars are all here. I'm glad you guys are here. Brian,
thanks as always for watching.
Yeah, Brian Tarbox and Prisoner 4044 both talked about the repeat handler and how the example I used is pretty nifty. And what he wants to know is this in a library somewhere? I have a helper file that I use in all of my skills. It lives in that helper file, which you can find in that GitHub repo that I shared. But I'm actually in the process of working with our product team specifically on the SDKs and some of the things that could be added to those. And functions like this are examples of that. So I'm not making any promises for like next week or next month, but my plan is to try to incorporate a lot of the little helpful functions that I've written for myself and find ways to represent those in our SDKs as well. And for the stuff that I've built in Node, I'll probably lean on Amanda, who's a Python developer, and have her try to contribute those things to the Python SDKs as well, because they are handy and it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, not a bad idea. We should definitely add some more of the Python stuff on the other side.
Yeah. Gavin Watson wants to know, and this is just feedback that we'll have to take back. I don't have a good answer for you. But on the developer console, when you go to certain screens like analytics and a couple of others, we offer these tutorial prompts where it pops up and lets you know something. And there's no way to ever get rid of those. Every time you come to the page, you are started at the beginning of that tutorial. So other than skipping tutorial, is there a way for me to just say, yeah, I got it. I understand. Great feedback, Gavin, but no, I don't have a good answer for you. One other tip that Prisoner offered about the repeat intent is that I am just repeating whatever I happened to say last time. Because if someone says, can you say that again? Or I missed that or whatever, the repeat intent catches that. And so I always repeat whatever I just said. But what he's recommending is that you don't always have to do that. You could also just give them another prompt. You could give them something that is slightly different than what you said the first time. Or in cases where you don't want to repeat it, let's say it's a trivia question. You get one shot and that's the only shot. Then you may want to disable those kinds of things in those situations as well. Oxygen Box for you, Kunal, asked if did we actually provide a number of the minimum number of required users required to use A/B testing? Is there an official number we can say, or is it?
Yeah, currently it's about 40 because that's what it would make it statistically significant.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I know some of the reasons that we provide minimum number of users is because if the number was below that, you could pretty easily identify who's doing what. And obviously we don't want that to happen. So for 40-ish, don't hold us to 40 exactly, but 40-ish is a good representation though. A Witters guessed it was around 100, but 40 is a more manageable number for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's just to make it statistically significant, right? Because if you're guessing on 5 people, you can't really get any data from that would be valuable, right?
Yeah,
that's right. And also we want to make sure the users are safe. We want to make sure that they are anonymous, and the treatment and the control and versions of the skill are randomly chosen users. So it's not. We want to make sure we can keep our users safe as well.
That's great.
Really good point.
Soundmaster AJ wants to know about randomizing or A/B testing ISP sales and functionality. Is that something that they can do? Like, can I offer 2 products? Because again, this has to be a live skill. 2 products that are identical in every way, except for maybe their description, and try to push that through. I don't know if I could do that with certification. I don't think they'd let me sell 2 products that are the same.
Yeah, I don't think either. You could change the prompts associated with it, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure about the products
Yeah,
as you
the
mentioned.
problem specifically with ISPs is that you just make a dialogue directive to say, hey, sell this product to the user. And then it uses the prompts that are baked into the ISP itself as the way to talk to the user and sell the product to them, which means there's no easy way, even though I'm swapping out the back end of my skill for A/B testing, there's no easy way for me to A/B test my products because I wouldn't be able to have multiple versions of the product. Okay, and then we started getting into Brian Tarbox saying, is there a way we can test changes in the voice model? Mahler Sachs said, hi, the ASR evaluation tool is deprecated and we loved it. Is there any alternative? Unfortunately, I'm not aware of an alternative on that. But that was, so the one specifically that you're talking about is the ability to speak into the console, create recordings, and then test that against your model. You can still test text-based things, but you cannot currently test voice-based things. You would have to use one of the voice testing tools, which is not a aggregated testing tool. It's kind of one-off request, so it's not ideal. But that is currently the options. Okay, I'm going to transition over to account linking.
Next topic.
And we're going to get right into one of the tougher subjects for a lot of developers, because this is something that a lot of them need or want, but oftentimes it's very challenging to implement. And so let's just get into the questions that I have here. So for those that may not know, I always like to start at the beginning like I did last time. One, what is account linking and why should developers think about using it in their skills?
Yep. So account linking is the ability for skill developers to link their Alexa or Amazon account with their system's account. So could be a music provider or anyone who is looking to set up a link between the Alexa user's Amazon account and their system account. Now, once that link has been set up, the skill user is going to have the ability to to get the content that the skill developer is providing. It could be premium content, it could be their personalized content. They're also enabling a cross-platform experience. So the experience that the user gets on their, let's say, mobile app, the same kind of experience can be offered by setting up that account linking with the Alexa skill. And the third one is if you are looking to provide any content which has ads or any user preferences or any of that, by setting up that account linking, you would be able to get the consent from the user to provide the same content in the voice manner as well. Now, users may be interacting with their the skill developers app and they have consent for it, but this is a voice user interface, and they want to make sure that the preferences carry on, they carry into the same experience, or they may have voice specific experiences or that things that they want to control.
Yep. One of the examples I always like to use with this is the idea of having a real world brick and mortar place, a barbershop or a pizza shop or anything like that. And if you want people to be able to order your services or schedule an appointment or whatever it is, the users may already have an account that they've been scheduling with you on your website or something like that. And so by doing account linking, you can route those same kinds of commands and know exactly who your user is, so that by just speaking to their device, they can schedule their hair appointment, they can order their pizza in the same way that they would have done by pulling out an app or a website, but it's obviously way simpler with just using your voice.
Right. And just hooking on to that example is, let's say as a skill developer, you are a pizza shop and you're setting up your skill. If the user is account linked, they could just easily, with one or two commands, voice commands, order their favorite pizza using the Alexa app as well, right?
Yep.
As you have that experience, you've already set up a favorite and you're able to serve that. Similarly, if you're a music skill, you could play your favorite playlists because you're offering the same kind of experiences across the platform.
Right. And that's one of the things that I really love about the idea of account linking, especially, is because that probably means I have a website or an app already. And if I have those things, there's a bunch of things that my users are used to being able to do in that app. And so you think about any pizza ordering app you've ever used before. You have to open the app and they have like specials and offers, and you have to go, no, I want to create a new order. And so you have to click create new order, and then you have to pick the pizza kind that you want, the crust or whatever, and then you have to add toppings. And then once you've done all that, then you have to go through and say yes, yes, yes for like where my delivery address is. These are all default, but they still make you answer them. Where when we think about voice, you could say something like, give me the pizza I always get, or whatever. And it can know all of those things. It knows your primary delivery address. It knows the primary credit card that you're going to use that you have on file. And so it's literally one statement and boom, pizza will be there in 25 minutes.
Yeah, I don't want to have to read my credit card number out loud. I'd rather it already know that information.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So I think that saves not a lot of time. And that's the tip that I like to remind everybody about is if there's something that happens inside your app or your website that takes many clicks, many taps to be able to do, figure out a way to do that with voice so they can do it just with one statement. That's a powerful feeling for people.
Yeah, imagine being able.
Sorry, Amanda. I think that's one of the reasons that smart home is so popular.
Yeah.
Is because all of a sudden now I can do all of these things all at once. Go ahead, Amanda. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying it'd be really, really handy to say like, hey, just get my usual Chinese order and that's it. Like you're done with it, right? Or whatever it is that you get.
Yeah, I'm a relatively picky eater, and so I find that at most restaurants there's a thing I'm going to get, and so I don't need to look at your menu. I already know what I'm getting.
So I'm actually kind of new to this. I haven't tried to implement any of this account linking stuff before. And my understanding is there's different account linking products that you can use. And what's the difference between those?
Yeah. So when we looked at account linking, we kind of looked at it in two ways. One, the first offering that we had was the standard account linking, which was to provide if your system or the skill developer system has a web-based offering where their website has a username, password, login, we would allow them to kind of set up account linking through the app, through either the Alexa app, or we also do app to app account linking, which is via the providers, the skill providers app. So for example, if it's a pizza provider, they have their own app, they can link it, they can initiate that experience, the account linking experience from their app, or they could do it from the Alexa app as well. So we have both available now from the app, which is now tied to the mobile app. Recently in July, we also launched, or during the Alexa Live last year, we also launched the voice forward account linking capability, which is you could account link using voice. Currently, it's available for GA with login with Amazon. So if your skill offer or allows login with Amazon as the authentication mechanism, you can take advantage of the voice forward account linking. But we also have private beta for non login with Amazon offering. And that's if you're interested, anyway, you could reach out to your BDSAs. They would be able to connect to the product team so that we could enable you with that.
Nice.
But as I mentioned, three different, the standard account linking, which is through the Alexa app. The second offering is the app to app account linking, which is initiating that experience from the skill providers app itself. And then the voice forward account linking with and without the login with Amazon capability.
Got it. Okay, I have a couple of questions from the chat that I would love to ask for you.
Sure.
The first one comes from Prisoner. If I have a website that already requires users to use login with Amazon to log into my website, what is the easiest approach for me and for my users to handle account linking? Is it voice forward? It sounds like maybe it would be.
Yep, voice forward is the least friction in terms of account linking. That's what we have seen so far is that voice forward is limits the usage of the phone requirement and reduces the friction when the users have to kind of set up account linking. We also, as part of the configurations, we also allow new accounts to get created. So this becomes like a new acquisition channel for you, for new users. So that is just additional benefit that we offer, that if the account doesn't exist, we would help create that account and also get the account linked to the Amazon account that
Got
the
it.
user
And that
has.
was going to lead me to my two paths. The first path is they've already created an account on this other website, and now they're coming in and they're doing voice forward account linking, and that's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, it's they're coming to the skill first. They've never been to the website before, and they choose voice forward account linking. You have to you as the website owner would then have to have some kind of OAuth endpoint that would allow you to then call in and create an account and send a token back and all of that stuff, right?
That's right.
In case one, do I need an OAuth server at all if I only care about case one?
So you still need an authorization service, a URI, that needs to be there. So
Okay.
that's your authorization service, which is going to authenticate the user and allow them to link the account. But the as you mentioned on the voice forward one, there is the OAuth requirement. Yes.
Got it. Okay, I think that answers the question that we were looking for, which is,
Mhm.
can I do this without an OAuth server? And I think most people are trying to avoid that major setup if
Yeah,
necessary, but
the pain.
it is a part of the process.
Yep.
The other question that came in was, did I lose it?
I think I think I see user account linking for is it the same? Startup Santana
Is
wants
user
to
account
know.
linking the same for all Alexa hardware? So
Yeah.
once I've done it on my account, that applies across all devices, right?
Um, when you say, so let's say you had a headless device and then you get a screen enabled device, yes, all the enablement and the account linking does happen at that level, but I'm not sure if we need to enable the skill on the new device or not. Once you're enabled, then
Yeah.
yeah,
This is just my
I can double
understanding, but I
check.
think skill enablement is all done at the account level.
Yep.
Which means that any device that you set up on that account should already have access to all of your stuff. I'm pretty sure that that is the case.
Yep.
Yeah.
The last question I had for you, and this may be part of my list later as well. Is there a skill that demonstrates great user experience for voice forward account linking? Tapster says, I implemented standard account linking and it works great, but voice forward seems to have many UX challenges in my testing so far. I personally have not implemented voice forward account linking yet. So I'd love your perspective on this one.
Yeah, so I think in the video link that we dropped as part of the, or if you haven't already, for the account linking, that had a real good demo from Alexa Live, which was showing the voice forward account linking experience. And that did have the sleep sound, brown noise, as one of the skills that had enabled that voice forward account linking. I thought that was a very smooth experience setting up that voice forward account linking. We are working with some of the other partners on the non LWA as well, and that's going to obviously improve the offerings that we have on the voice forward account linking.
Great. Okay. So we mentioned the three different kinds of account linking. How do developers decide? Like, is there an obvious flag that they should understand? Like, oh, if I'm doing this, I'll pick A. If I do this, I pick B. Do you have an outline like that?
Yeah. So one of the things is, if you're just looking to make sure the three benefits that I mentioned, one was the personalized experience, the other one being consent for the ads, and then the third one being the cross-platform experiences. Those are the ones that you are looking to get out of the um, account linking experience. I think the standard can take you there, but if you already have engagement with your users using apps, mobile apps that are heavily used by your users, and you want to maintain that, app to app account linking is a great option for you as a skill developer. The voice forward account linking is none. I wouldn't say these are exclusive, mutually exclusive. You could do both, depending on how you see the engagement that you want to drive. And if you're especially looking for voice first kind of experience and uh, acquiring more users through the Alexa platform, I think the voice forward account linking is a great option for you in terms of setting that up as well. So all of these, depending on your different use cases, you could pick one or the other. But if you already have an app, I think the app to app account linking is your best option to start.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get to Amanda's next question, which I'm excited to hear, Alan had another question about the OAuth stuff. And his question verbatim is, why do I need an OAuth server if my website is relying on login with Amazon? The user is never actually giving me any auth info. So I'd love your thoughts on that process.
Yeah. So I think the login with Amazon may be slightly different in terms of how the implementation is. I would refer to the tech doc on specifically on that.
Okay.
The OAuth, I'm not completely sure about.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of the things that I always like to remind people, and I didn't have a chance to tell you this before, but in this situation, especially when we're here like on air, it's always okay to say I don't know. So if you don't know, that's fine. I would much rather you say that than try to make up an answer or dance around it. So it's okay to not know stuff here. We can't possibly know everything. Alexa's a very big product, but as Alan said, he's looking through the tech docs now, so he'll take a look at that. And I'm going to flag that question for follow up. And so maybe we can work with you to find the people that can answer that question more concretely, and we'll answer it in a future episode.
Sure.
Honestly, I'm here to learn too, because a lot of the stuff is stuff I'm trying for the first time or just learning about. Or, I heard about the voice forward account linking. I really appreciate understanding the difference between voice forward versus app to app, because I was like, what does that even mean? Voice forward account linking. I know it's cool, but what is the difference? But now I know. My question is if I'm a developer and I want to go ahead and implement this, are there any best practices that you would suggest for me to do?
Yep. So there is the links that we shared. There are a couple of links that talk about the best practices for account linking. But to summarize those on this forum today, I think it's if you have a need to create richer experiences, I think that's where the account linking shines. It will enable you to do that by setting up that account linking. In terms of the value prop, what's the value proposition for you to set up the account linking, right? Is it to gain more users, to improve engagement? In general, there is a possibility that you may have more engaged users with your skills if the account is linked, and the retention of the users may be better as well. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. What's your objective there? And it's the some of the other best practices that are mentioned there is that do make sense in there. So
that's great. I saw another question in the chat too, and this is another tech question that I think you'd be able to answer. Kiza 1023 wants to ask, how does one manage the Amazon auth code exchange? Is this a typical OAuth flow? And maybe we don't know. Maybe that's another question we could answer. But do you know?
Yeah. No, I don't have that much detail into it, but something that we could follow up.
Yeah, we will definitely follow up. I actually just mentioned to my team, I've been mentioning tech talks about topics that are coming up, like the one we're doing tomorrow. This seems like it might be a really useful topic to do a tech talk on. We actually just bring someone Kunal recommends in to actually do a full demo of how this works and how they piece it together. I think that would be really valuable. So let me know in the chat if that's something that you guys are interested in. I think it is based on what I'm seeing so far, but we're always looking for new topics and new ideas. So if there's things you'd like us to cover with some of the experts here at Amazon, even though it's not account linking, drop it in there. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, I think this would be worth diving deeper on, because I can already see there's a bunch of different ways to do this in a bunch of different scenarios. And I think it would be really good to have a deep dive, because I want to see what's the right use case for the right scenario. Because I'm thinking, you mentioned a hair salon or something earlier, that seems like a really good use case for app to app, because maybe you've already got the app installed on your phone and you've already clicked through it a bunch of times. But then there's other times where the voice forward, I saw we had a question in chat earlier too, if there was something like a parental control on account linking.
There is. So from the options that are available, there's no parental controls that I've seen on the setup page, but I'd love to hear the use case, what in terms of So I'm not sure if it's available for child-directed skills or not.
That's a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. So the question you're raising, Kunal, is can you even do account linking with a child-directed skill?
Yeah. I'll have to check on that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either.
Yeah.
There's so many nuances and pockets of information here sometimes that it's hard to think about that specific use case. Like account linking, cool. Child-directed skills, cool. How do those play together? I don't know the answer to that one. So we'll have to dig in.
A kid would have to be logged into an account on something, but I could see that happening, like for a game, for example.
Right. This is probably me getting on a soapbox a little bit, but if your kid already has an account with a thing and they're just trying to link that thing to their Alexa device, as a parent, we probably should be involved earlier. Like if they already have the account, they're already using the services, and what we're trying to do is just limit the account linking between those two. That feels like you're a little late in the game to prevent any kind of interactions if it's not a thing you want kids to use. Startup here says the use case is kids can misuse the account linking and then start ordering a bunch of stuff that they weren't supposed to order.
Although they could do that anyway.
Yeah, and honestly, because they should be they're probably using a device that has your account on it. If a skill developer is building a skill in which there are purchases that are possible, they can introduce a bunch of security measures like PIN and some other functions to prevent purchases that you don't authorize. So even if account linking existed or whatever, that's on the skill developer. That's not on just Alexa as a whole, but the skill developer can put those safeguards in place.
Exactly. Yep.
And Trade Last has just mentioned account linking is not allowed for child-directed skills. Thank you for looking that up for us because we're live and didn't check.
Trade Last is the fastest web searcher on earth. So many times he has the answer before I can even. It's in my head and I can't even say it before he says it in the chat. It's amazing. All right, so we've talked a lot about account linking. We've talked about all of the things related to A/B testing. I think we've got a lot of very good information here. Another question from Prisoner is account linking linked to an Amazon account for the device or for the voice profile? This is another really good question that I don't know if we have the answer to here, Kunal, but obviously you can have multiple voice profiles. If I say switch accounts, it'll switch to my wife's account. But if I ask it who I am, it'll know it's me versus my wife. So
yeah, we do offer person ID verification, authentication, but you do have to, as a skill developer, implement it. It doesn't come and implement and also start using the person information that you get as part of the request responses. So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And Trey Last, I want to make sure I give him the full call out. He is also a solutions architect here on the Alexa team for kids skills. So he is also the authority on that subject. So that's good to know. No account linking for child-directed skills. And just for those of you that are watching, we have a good audience today. A child-directed skill, if you're not familiar with that term, is a skill that is designed specifically for children 13 and under. If you make a skill like a Star Wars trivia or something that is universally available and accessible to everyone, that is not considered a child-directed skill. A child-directed skill is something you would only expect someone under 13 to use. And there are many, many examples of that, right? Like simple addition and subtraction flashcard skills or games or character stories or things that you might own. Like I would never use it as an adult, but maybe like a Mad Libs kind of situation where you're playing with your kids and writing a story. As an adult by myself, probably wouldn't use that, but with my kids, I totally would. And so child-directed skills are those skills that are only for children, not something that children might use, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Does that get every question in the chat? We've gotten a lot of good questions today. So as always, thanks everybody for coming in and checking out.
I think one last thing on the account linking. In addition to OAuth, we also have implicit grant that's available. So that probably answers one of the questions that we had. That's the other option that's available.
Got it.
Yep.
Oh, I see one question we didn't ask. Benjamin Anderson on YouTube wants to know, is there access to an API for creating a security profile for LWA? Which, big question.
Yeah. Prisoner said the prerequisites for voice forward account linking include your skill must support account linking with the authorization code grant type. For details about account linking, see add account linking to your Alexa skill, which includes OAuth. So I think while he's not happy about the answer, I think he found the answer, which is that OAuth is required.
Makes sense.
All right, Kunal, are there any other examples or parting thoughts you may have before we wrap everything up today?
Nope. I think I covered most of the things that I had, but it was great interacting and great having the questions from the audience.
I agree. I mean, the audience is always fantastic for questions. There's no shortage of those.
And if you all have follow-up questions, don't forget to come to the Slack and ask them there. We've got our Slack community, and we're eager to help you out if there's something you're working on that maybe you need a little additional help with, or just want to chat with our community.
That is a great reminder. There are tons and tons of software developers sitting at alexa.design/Slack. You can join us there. It's totally free, and it's amazing how many people are there asking, answering, and helping each other on a daily basis. It's a great place to go. So if you're not getting your answers here, or maybe you can't always tune in for office hours, we only do this on Tuesdays, but you can go to Slack any day, and it's a great place to learn and grow your skill development skills. All right, with that, I think we're probably going to wrap things up here, Amanda.
Okay, sounds great.
Awesome.
Jeff, we're gonna see y'all next week for office hours, but you have other streams going on this week too, or?
I do. So we mentioned that voice developer skill at the beginning. I am streaming on my own channel, so you can find me at Jeff Blankenberg here on Twitch. And I built today for like an hour and a half. We made some really cool progress on something I was working on. But we also have tomorrow and Thursday at a minimum. Friday's a bonus day if we can make it happen. But I'm building a whole skill for skill developers. So if you guys want to tune in and check that out, please do. And in the meantime, I think we will put a big old bow on this. I want to make sure to remind everybody just of the announcements we had. There's a tech talk tomorrow about the skill quality coach with Pranav Rai. And we also have, for those of you that are kind of new to this, we have our new skill builder 4-part video series coming up very soon as well. So make sure to keep your eyes out for those. And with that, I want to ask one other question. Kunal, we had a couple of people ask if there's an easy way to reach out to you. If it's okay, would you be willing to share your email address?
Yep, sure.
If you want to drop it in the chat there, I'll share it with the audience.
Yeah.
We ask this sometimes. People have direct questions they would love to just chat with you about. I don't expect that you'll get a ton of emails, but you'll probably get a couple.
Yep, I appreciate all the interaction if anyone has questions. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you
so
guys
much for being here today.
Yeah.
Right.
And we will see you guys all next week. Can't wait. Take care, everyone. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.